Okay, this is Rabbi Avi Geller about to give the divinity and the fingerprint of the Torah. How do we know the Torah is true? The fingerprint of the Ribono Shel Olam, the creator of the universe. How do we know this is true? Rabbi Geller, he's going to explain it to you right now. You're on.
Good evening. One of the strongest evidences of the divinity of the Torah is the specification. The Torah specifies that in order for an animal to be kosher, it has to have two identifying signs. It has to have split hoofs and it has to chew its cud. Now that would have been enough. Once the Torah tells us that, I know if it only has one, it's no good. Yet the Torah goes out of its way in two places, both in Leviticus, in Parshas Shemini. I'll show you where it is. Chapter 11 in the book of Leviticus, and also in the book of Deuteronomy, to tell me that there are three animals that chew their cud and do not have split hoof. One of them is a hyrax, one of them is a camel. We know camels chew their cud. One of them is we're not sure exactly what the translation is, the hare family. They rejuvenate their food and they don't chew their cud. And then it tells me there's one animal that has split hooves and does not chew its cud. And what is that? The pig. Right?
The pig?
Yes. So now why does it have to tell me that? It didn't have to tell me anything. It would tell me three examples of one and one of the other. Obviously, the reason why the Torah tells me this is because these are the only animals. Now, how could any human being, whenever the Torah was written, at least 1,000 years ago, right, know all the animals in the world? What does this mean? This means, in short, imagine you come to a foreign country and you see an animal you never saw before in your life. Imagine a European comes to America 200 years ago and sees a buffalo. They didn't have buffaloes in Europe, right? And he sees it has split hoofs. It's obvious it has split hoofs. He doesn't know if it chews its cud. I can't tell if it chews its cud or not. Its mouth is cut away for whatever reason. And he wants to slaughter it and eat it. May he slaughter it and eat it? It depends. What the answer is? It depends, right? What does it depend on? It depends on one thing. Do you recognize a pig or not? If you never saw a pig before in your life, you can't eat it because maybe it's a pig, right? But if you know it's not a pig, I don't know what it is, but it ain't a pig, right? The law is you may slaughter it and eat it because this book testifies there is no other animal on planet Earth that has split hooves and does not chew its cud except for the pig. How can anybody have known this? Now, during the heyday of Bible criticism in the 1800s, they actually sent an expedition to disprove the Bible. And they went all over the world. They went to New Zealand, what's next to New Zealand? Australia, right? They found very strange animals, the kangaroo, the koala bear, the duck-billed platypus, right? They didn't find any of the animals with split hoofs that didn't chew its cud, except for the pig. That's why the pig, by the way, is the only animal like the lion is back and took up its feet. You ever notice? Pig's lying in the back. See, I'm kosher. See, I split hoofs. He's flaunting his piety, right? See how flying down. Now, when it comes to birds, to fish rather, the Torah gives us two identifying signs. Chooses fins and scales. It has to have fins and scales for a fish to be kosher. And the Mishnah, which was written 2,000 years ago, says all fish with scales have fins. There are many fish that have fins that don't have scales. You know, sharks have fins, don't have scales, right? Swordfish have scales. You know, the conservative movement wanted to bring swordfish to have microscopic scales. Not good enough. But every fish that has scales has fins. If you see a fish with scales and no fins, you can rest assured that the scales and the fins must have fallen off. It's kosher, right? How could the Mishnah have known this, right? And just to bring this point across, I'll tell you a story, a true story that happened in France about 200 years ago. They discovered a new species of fish they did not know before. And they weren't Jewish, it wasn't a question of kosher, they wanted to know if it's edible, they were afraid it might be poisonous. And they decided, nobody wanted to try it out, no, a dog can eat it, maybe a person can't. They decided we're going to have an experiment. All the scientists and biologists and veterinarians, they're all going to do experiments on this fish and decide if it's edible or not. They showed the fish to the rabbi, who was a very smart guy. He took one look at it and said, no question, edible, I'll eat it right now. How do you know, Rabbi? We discovered it's very simple. How do you know? Because it had fins and scales. And the Torah says a fish with fins and scales, you shall eat. The Torah is not going to tell you to eat a poisonous fish.
Dude, no poisonous animal.
And the fact is, there are no fish that have fins and scales that are poisonous. There are no fish with scales that do not have fins. And there are no animals that split their hooves without chewing gum except for the pig. So this is God's autograph, right?
What else?
That's one thing. There are other.
So that is how we know, because we're in an isolated region in the world.
That's one of the many proofs of the Torah, the divinity of the Torah, the proof of God. Right. A guy comes to me. I'm going to tell you a story. Tell you this story. A guy comes to me and says, Rabbi, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm an atheist. Right? Oh, you're an atheist. Shalom Aleichem. I always wanted to meet a real atheist. You're a real atheist? A real atheist, right? An atheist is someone who knows there's no God. How do you know there's no God? You go through all the evidence of God and prove it. Let me hear you through all the evidence of God, right? This point the guy says, well, I'm not really an atheist, I'm really agnostic. Oh, you're agnostic. Shalom Aleichem. I always want to meet a real agnostic too. You're not as good as an atheist. You're second best. An agnostic is someone who knows he can't know whether there's a God. How do you know you can't know, right? You go through all the evidence, 50% proven, you don't know here. This point the guy says, well, I really don't know much about it. You don't know much about it. You're not an atheist. You're not agnostic. You're ignorant. And there's plenty of them around. Would you like to learn? We'll teach you. Right. Alex, you want to hear some more? Alex?
Of course I want to hear some more. Are you kidding me?